So now let's dig into the first element of grammar, which is syntax. Now, syntax might be an unfamiliar word, but all it means is it's a collection of the rules guiding the construction of sentences. It's helpful to remember that sentences, indeed language, is constructed. It's put together, right? And just like anything that is assembled, be it furniture from IKEA or the ingredients to your favorite dish, there's probably a most efficient, most effective way to put it together, and a multitude of ineffective, incoherent methods of putting something together, right? So all syntax is a series of guidelines and suggestions and rules to help us communicate concisely and effectively. A good parallel here can be found in your childhood bedroom in the form of Legos. Legos are a system of basic building blocks that can be put together to form ever more complex structures. Similarly, language is a series of basic building blocks, or what we call syntactical elements, that can be assembled or put together into ever more complex structures. So, what are the basic building blocks? What are our linguistic Lego bricks? Well, the most basic, the single term, the monomial, would be the word. So our most basic building block in language is a word, right? That makes total sense. And we'll go into this later when we talk about parts of speech, but we know there are a variety of words that we'll encounter. There are nouns and verbs and adjectives and adverbs. And let's not forget our friend the preposition, little pronoun action, conjunctions, lots of different types of words, all of which we will do our best to define and illustrate when we talk about parts of speech. So our most basic element, the most basic brick, is the word. Now, if we stick a couple of bricks together, it's no longer just a word. We've moved on to the second degree of complexity, the next syntactical element, which is the phrase. So anytime you have two words stuck together, you've moved on to the phrase, or if we continue our mathematical analogy, a binomial, right? So a couple of words together, no longer just a word, now it's a phrase. And we got lots of different phrases. We have noun phrases, and verbal phrases, and adjectival phrases, and adverbial phrases, and prepositional phrases, and pronoun phrases, and participial phrases. Lots of different types of phrases. Because it doesn't require much, just a couple of words thrown together. Then we can go to our next step of complexity, which would be the clause. Now, if you're already seeing the pattern here, if a phrase is just a couple of words, a clause is just going to be a couple of phrases. But to be more specific, it's not just any phrase. It would be a subject and a predicate. Now let's define those a little bit more precisely. A subject is the agent of action. It is the doer. It is the heroine of this particular clause, the star. So we'll call it the agent of action. And the predicate, the second half, is going to be the action or verb, along with usually more information describing the subject. And in grammar talk, we call that modifying information. So usually more things modifying the subject, more info about subject. So we can actually take clauses then, and we can break all clauses up into two more categories of clauses. We have the independent clause. Ay, ay, ay. I'm getting so excited about these clauses. The independent clause, and we have the dependent clause. Now, both of these clauses have those crucial elements which I've outlined earlier. They both have a subject and a predicate, or else they wouldn't be clauses. However, the independent clause can stand on its own as a sentence. And the dependent clause can stand on its own. So let's illustrate this with a couple of examples. An example of an independent clause would be Pat loved cheese. The subject would be Pat. The predicate would be loved cheese. It can stand on its own because it doesn't require any more information to be comprehensible. You don't say huh or and, right? It is sovereign. It kind of stands on its own. Well, what's a dependent clause look like? Well, a dependent clause can have all the same words plus an additional word called a subordinating conjunction. So subordinating conjunctions are words like when, while, after, before, if. So I could say before Pat loved cheese. And we see here that all the elements are still there, right? We still have a subject, Pat, and we still have a predicate, loved cheese. That hasn't changed. But now we have this word before. And that creates a question in our mind. Before Pat loved cheese. What? Tell me, and, right? You can hear that it's no longer complete. It no longer stands on its own. It leaves the audience hanging. Please tell me about this, cheeseless, lovelorn past before Pat was introduced to the delights of cheddar and Gouda and Parmesan, right? So we have two types of clauses, independent and dependent, and they differ about whether they can stand on their own or not. All right, so let's just recap all our syntactical elements before we move on. The most basic building block, our very fundamental Lego, is going to be the word. I snap two of those linguistic Legos together, I got a phrase. I snap a couple of phrases together, as long as they're a subject and a predicate, I have a clause. If that clause can stand on its own and make sense, I have an independent clause. But if there's a subordinating conjunction in front of it, after, before, while, or if, then it's dependent and can't stand on its own. All right. So how are we going to divide up these elements in a way that makes the most sense when we're trying to learn our rules of punctuation? Well, we're going to divide all our syntactical elements into two categories. Can stand on its own, ting, cannot stand on its own, right? Now we already know the list of things that can stand on its own, very short. It's an independent clause. And the list of things that cannot stand on their own, syntactical elements that cannot stand on their own, fairly large, right? So we have the independent clause over here, but we would have the dependent clause. That can't stand on its own. Neither can any of the phrases we mentioned, right? Whether they be participial or adjectival or pronominal. Phrases can't stand on their own, and neither can words. So the way we're going to divide it up for our work is we're going to divide it up into independent clauses, things that can stand on their own. They have a series of requirements on how we treat them. And then all those elements that can't stand on their own, which we call the dependents. The dependent clauses and friends. That would be our dependent clauses, our phrases like participial, prepositional phrases, and our individual words. Okay, so in this next section, we're going to really do a deep dive on independent clauses and the kind of punctuation requirements for those and the elements that compose independent clauses, and then we're going to jump into dependent clauses and friends.